Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to F.E.A.R 2. Let's continue. So we went through at least the first part of the school section,
Becket, I'm glad you're okay.
and then we had
Becket, keep me
splitting
back to the APC.
headache
Becket, this snake fist guy may be our best shot at getting out of this. Do what you can
as
to
we
bring
got a
him out
vision.
alive.
So are we just leaving this guy, like, again,
Better get going.
after he's been shot? Oh, so she's just leaving me. There is a question certainly that needs to be asked as to why the young Alma didn't show up in the school section at all, as far as what I saw. Like, unless she did make a jump scare and I just missed it, which is very possible. It feels like I'm missing a good 10-20%. The only notice we even saw was Alma being mentioned as a student in the school on a board. Um, it also then uh, would only really make sense if they were trying to do something like remind you of a negative. Yeah, this feels like this is just a boss fight. Yeah, I cannot line up. It's been a while, so obviously trying to line up all of this is not working great. And knocking people down is not doing great. That certainly then opens up the next bit of question, certainly, as to what is the point of the younger Alma at all in this game? Yeah, she's I guess just sent me out alone here to clean up, and I don't know if I really should be swapping out a machine gun at this point. Like, we have an assault rifle, we have a missile launcher. Let's, I guess, maybe go to a combat shotgun and see if we can survive off of that for a while. It does seem like the game is kind of hard coded in a way to intentionally have it so that you don't have that opportunity to stick to guns as much as I am sticking to guns. Um, but it is fairly ridiculous to try and stick with the pistol because there's been no upgrades or anything on the pistol that makes me really feel like, oh, that's the gun. Interesting. So there's a save when I went that way, so that tells us that that's where we were going to. Interesting. We have a little bit of a visual glitch happening here. This is probably where the skybox is lining up, because there's kind of nothing in the area up there that would make sense otherwise. This is just locked. And there's no taller areas. Yeah, it does seem like maybe they're trying to have some kind of effect there that's just not visually rendering. Or what? I mean, see a little bit of smoke. And that's about it. Yeah, I don't know what the innocent part of Alma is at all. Frankly, the idea should be that either young Alma is the only Alma, or older Alma is the only Alma. Like, it probably is a bit spookier if you have a grudge-like character like the girl in The Grudge. We don't really have real examples of a long-haired adult Japanese creepy grudge-like creature. There probably has been one or two movies like that, but The Grudge would have certainly been very influential. The other thing that occurred to me is it would be interesting to do some research, and I suppose anybody familiar with Marilyn Manson probably already knows this, as to when did Marilyn Manson's Mechanical Animals album come out, because that is a creepy depiction of Marilyn Manson in the in a no featured female body on the cover, and maybe that was influencing the older Alma being naked, which has just been a running question certainly that we're running into, is like why did they pick these visuals? And I imagine a lot of it really does boil down to they just picked something and then they were stuck with it, and just had to commit because they did not have enough budget in animation to go in a different direction. Where when you look at like BioShock, okay, let's see, sniper rifle, zoom, and fire. I think we've got a armored guy here. That was supposed to be a real challenge. And now with the sniper rifle, I think I can take these guys out fairly easily. Let's go and swap back to the combat shotgun. And so we've got a little bit of a playground area. Alright, swap and slow down and fire. I don't know if headshots matter or not. Two shots with the combat shotgun's not a lot, so that seems doable. I guess what they're trying to introduce here is a new tier of enemies, which that seems believable. And they seem to rather enjoy throwing one or two guys at you in smaller groups now, which is different. Here we have a softball team. Sign up for them. They are doing way more visual storytelling here than we've seen in previous levels. Like, it was a very, very generic experience just wandering around the area. Let's see, can we go up the slide? Yes. Can we go down the slide? Yes. Can we jump on this? Yes. Can we climb this? No. Can we hit the swings? Yes. Over here we've just got a basketball court with some like 4 squares painted on it. Not a huge elementary school by any means. Honestly, for the size of this playground, it is a rather large building. I'm doing a lot of this stuff just to see if maybe a award comes out, but I don't think that's the way it's going to happen. I think they're only really going to award you for doing things like finding collectibles. Alright, we've got a new gun here called the Hammerhead. What does the Hammerhead do? I don't have a tab button anymore, so I'll have to hit it on my keyboard. We're trying to find Snake Fist. Arsenal items, Hammerhead. Successor to the HV penetrator fire and hardened 14 depleted uranium spikes hammerhead is devastating effect against armored tactics. Its stability and high rate of fire. Alright, so how do we use the hammerhead and get rid of something else? I guess we get rid of the shotgun. Because we need something that can fire fairly fast. Still, not even because there's a bunch of bullet spongy enemies, just because I'm gonna miss a lot and I need that opportunity to have more more bullets. Interesting. And if I came out here, now I'm picking up hammerhead ammo. Where are we going? I guess we're doing this again. But since I just picked up hammerhead ammo, then it comes back to probably be a good idea to run over all of these people and make sure there isn't other kinds of bullets to collect. I feel like we've gotten fairly far away from where Stokes and Keegan were also, so apparently they're just assuming I'm gonna clear the way all the way to the exit. There's a very questionably large amount of like pre-barricaded areas in this game that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I'm supposed to know where that is. Oh yeah, we're looking for Snake Fist, I guess. And we're not trying to just clear a path for Keegan and Stokes. Let's go ahead and try the hammerhead in this case. It's like a straight up laser gun. Yeah, I don't think we need that quite yet. Plus, I'm not 100% sure that that was armored people in the first place. Remember the beginning of this game where we were in an area where there was like a lot of stuff to break? There was just a whole bunch of a whole bunch of plates that you could break. This area feels a lot like that. Although there's more variety now, and certainly less reason. It feels a little weird to have soldiers breaching out of an upper area like that. A lot of books here that don't seem like you could have easily just shot through. But then there are some books over here you can knock over. I should just play with the thing on. There's no reason to turn the flashlight off. Yeah. I wonder if concerning risk, photography volume 4, Yeah. It would be weird for a school library to have, like, important books. Like, first edition books, things along that line, things that would be valuable. You would almost certainly hand that over to a better equipped, better run library in the city, or even like museum level. If it's museum quality thing, you're not gonna rent out or lend out really important books. But I guess maybe you do a display like that just to maybe inspire kids to think that books are important. Because certainly they wouldn't immediately agree with you on that one.
Unit 3's down and out. Hurry up and seal the door. Almost done. Got it. Now set up a fire position near the donkey. Yes, sir.
So they're setting it up that you're going to be basically ambushed. And instead, I think Alma is just going to take her sweet time to have you wander around. Notice you can't see yourself in this mirror, even though the mirror works. This is definitely an experiment where they wanted you to see yourself in the mirror. So many parts of the buildings are breached. It's like, how many fights already happened here? And we're hearing things rolling around. But it seems like it's just the toilet paper rolling around being kicked. No working mirror in this part, and in fact they've made a specific point to make this a lower toilets and lower sinks, although toilets look fairly regular sized. It's hard to get scale there. And then they have step up for the water fountains too, which at a certain point, if you're building an elementary, why have the water fountain so high in the first place? Yeah, you'd think your flashlight would fix that, and that's probably not a case of the technology being bad. It is definitely a case of them masking it so that you can't see your face. Because you are secretly, I think it's fairly easy to guess that you're secretly actually Point Man, just playing as a silent protagonist in the body of Becket. Either that or you actually are Point Man and Becket died a long time ago. Which that's a little less believable, because then what would be the point of that? Because then Alma would have to have been changing your appearance to Alma would have to be changing your appearance every single time somebody else saw you, assuming every time somebody else saw you, they are actually seeing you. Well, if that's a horrific thing, are we supposed to go that way, or are we supposed to go up here? Yeah. I think we're supposed to go up there. Which that seems weird, because we've got a whole bunch of stuff over here too. And we are hearing babies crying, and more we're just getting like jump scares. And see, here's a health, and if I was taking any jump scare damage, here's Alma again. Let's see. Seems like there's some real creepy stuff there. So it's kind of getting reflected as if it's broken. And it's like backwards. I can't read it. Yeah, it's trying to tell you something. That's a brain being labeled as the playground. Another thing that you can read if you're interested in it when you play the game. Because I'm not gonna spend any of that time. So going this way, you get a couple more jump scares. It really does just like constantly come back to the question is, are you trying to see the jump scares or are you trying to avoid the jump scares? Because if you try to avoid the jump scares, you very easily might be able to miss a few of them, which, I mean, that would just be less content that you would experience in the game. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. Here's like a very early childhood, like nap time area. Seems like it. Or maybe a music room. Guess it could be that also. It could also be some kind of indoor physical ed room. It's never going to be anything in the lockers, I'm sure. And yeah, we see more dead bodies, which does not mean anything to me. Like, you're seeing tons of dead bodies always. It's not special to see more of them. That gag has been played out, and particularly in the first-person shooter game, you just kind of expect to see dead bodies. It would be way different if this was more of a linear narrative experience. And some more reflex upgrades, which, in all fairness, the reflex upgrades are not really... Can't activate the toilets or anything. They're not really doing much. Like, they are slowly maybe gonna double your force. Like, was that just a jump scare sound? We can't see out of that, or was there supposed to be a visual jump scare along with that? Feels like every time you hear one of these jump scare sounds, there should be something visual with it, but half the time I'm not looking in the right direction. Feels like we might be just turning around and going back the same way, but no, there's another door here. That's weird that we're on a roof. When did we go up? We went upstairs a while ago, but it's frankly hard to even remember. You think maybe a sniper rifle experience here? We hear a helicopter. Moving and trying to fire at the same time is going to be difficult. And throwing one primed grenade. Yeah, I've gotten much better at firing these primed grenades. That's just a technology, though, that really does not exist in first-person shooting anymore. You just don't have that experience. where there was definitely a level kind of like this in the first game. This also could easily have been in any other location. We could have been on the rooftop at any of the other places, and frankly it would have probably balanced out better had we been on the rooftop of some sort in the city, instead of having the city solely be a location where we just run around through that mech. This definitely feels like a level that is very standard fare for multiplayer. Lots of places where you can kind of run around and shoot each other without having to render a lot of graphics by any means. I guess the question is that explosive? Yes, it is. So where are we going now? We came down over there. So typically you would assume that the line of scrimmage, unless I'm supposed to jump up here, jump up here, jump over there, jump up there, and jump up there. That seems like a lot. We're running into this problem more and more often where it's just like the game is not showing you where you're supposed to be. Unless I'm supposed to trigger something to open this. Which, if I'm supposed to trigger something to open that, I don't feel like the game has told me well enough that that's the trick. Like, even getting up to that part doesn't feel super viable. I'm seeing more visual glitches. But it's kind of only in this one area, so it's not really a lot you can complain about there. It's much more frustrating to simply not know where you're supposed to go. I see some windows over here, so... Oh, I guess that's what it was. That's kind of frustrating to have to figure out. You have to run over here, get on top of this, climb on this. Really feels like the game should put some kind of arrow or something in front of you to tell you that. And if we were going to go with the Bioshock concept of there being a big boss here, there should either be a military boss or a principal that's a ghost character here. Alright, so do we want to just kill these guys or what? Like, these guys are just getting shot like crazy, but I think they're scripted, so they won't die until I shoot them. The replicant soldiers do strike me as stronger and taking more bullets. Which probably would help if I could pull off a couple shots like this. This is kind of the best place you can even get a sniper shot off, is if you are even minimally at any distance. And here we have a donkey and a tree in the farm, so who knows what little play they were doing there. More armor. Actually, I think it's fairly easy also to run back this way and pick up that med kit. Of course, it would also be fairly easy to just have some kind of salvage inventory that that would let you craft med kits completely. Those guys, I guess, were just not going to be triggered at all until I'd gotten further. So this is like supposed to be a big challenging fight, and it's so far not really turned into that. I have a whole bunch of doors that are now welded, which that certainly asks a question as to why we didn't see more areas welded until this point. Seems kind of silly, like, to see so many barricaded areas. Alright, well, we got some people over here. And some people over here. I guess this just turns around. So we have like two different areas.
Sounds like it's over. Check it out. All right. We go together on three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Put him down. Get down.
So that was an interesting feedback on the audio. They said sounds like it's over, but why not talk to each other and call it in? Like, it'd be fairly easy to say, "You guys good? Did you or expect for your companions to say threat eliminated before moving in. To just assume that you won is a pretty dumb assumption. And they're not dropping a lot of bullets. And we've got a glowing computer. Another intel thing. So they're getting taken out pretty badly. But no interaction with this computer. It's just designed to look like a fancier computer or more mobile computer. And by 2009 standards, I guess it is. And this one you can't melee open. Feel like we might have a point here where we either freeze to death or see a jump scare, but maybe not. Where are we going with this is the real question, because now we are, what, in some kind of sewer system of a school? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And we're really not getting a lot of story as far as what these characters are. As far as ghosts, are they people in an alternate reality that Alma didn't kill, or are they just ghosts that were traumatically killed by Alma, or are they nothing? Are they victims of a Cthulhu-esque monsters that have been released by Alma? Like, we're just not getting the backstory, and I don't think you really get the backstory even if we were reading the books, because how could the books really explain what's going on here? See, that hurt me. There's definitely some inconsistency with the ghost, in that half of them are jump scares and half of them are actual people that can kind of hurt you, and they take out health and they don't really take out armor. This is better than the first game, though, because at least in the first game, the ghost would just kind of appear, and they didn't make any sense either. They'd usually appear when Alma appeared, and they felt like they would kind of kill you immediately or do a fairly large amount of damage to you, where this is minor nuisances at worst. And I don't know if these are the ghosts of the military people. Maybe that's the case. Yeah, this might be the case, that the military people are getting turned into ghosts, and as such they are attacking you, because that's what they would have been doing otherwise. Definitely don't need to use the sniper rifle here. This definitely feels like we could be setting ourselves up for a big fight somewhere. A lot of gas valves, a lot of shut off things. A lot of creepiness. Just having us go around in circles. Is there another shut off valve somewhere? I'm getting stuck on things, and I thought the game was just kind of locking me away so I couldn't access certain areas. Am I supposed to flip this? Yep. So there wasn't another shut-off valve. It was just you were supposed to remember that the flip mechanic barely exists in this game. And I guess maybe they wanted you to feel like you were going to get hit there with the fire, but probably didn't want you to actually get hit with the fire. Like, cheap deaths in this game don't really benefit much. I feel like we're going to have to run into Snake Fist and be fairly quickly done with him. Either he's going to die very quickly, or he's going to give us a cutscene that's not super long of conversation, or Alma's just going to show up and scare him away, or he's just going to run away. Because there's not enough time really here to have a let's see. Yeah, I don't feel like there's enough time here to have a long-running conversation with him for 20 minutes. Whereas that very possibly is what it needs. This is a weirdly designed school. It's like secret tunnels for the janitors to work in the back rooms, and thus you can keep the janitors away from the kids or from being seen by the kids, which makes really no sense in a school because it's the kids. One hopes or assumes that it's the kids making the vast majority of the messes in a school system, so it doesn't really it isn't really efficient, I suppose, to hide them away. I imagine it doesn't also teach children much in the line of social responsibility and cleaning up after themselves if they think that they are just magically being cleaned up after, which I imagine kids would just make that assumption anyways. Let's see, so we can walk up over there, and that's where I think we're supposed to go. So let's go over here and make sure there's nothing here. This is a very oddly designed area. There's no logical reason to not have a staircase there. I suppose this may make sense if this was all Armacam people and we had more mirrors, two-way mirrors. But they've already done that gag and they're not willing to do it again, where honestly it probably would make a lot of sense for them to do that gag again, to either have monitors and cameras in the classroom, which would be fine, and then we could see a whole bunch of monitors and like computer stations in underground, and the armor cam is spying on the kids, who they're testing some kind of medication on, although we're not 100% sure if that's Project Harbinger or some other experiment to create characters like Alma psychics. Or you have the one-way mirrors, either way. But then that would certainly justify these underground areas. We've got an elevator here, which I almost hit the button there in that animation. And we've almost gone full circle here, in which we're using another elevator just like at the beginning of the game. Which almost, if they were going to make an argument that this was a case of you actually died at the very first level and you're just in hell, and you're reliving your last moments over and over again, and it's just slightly changing the skins of areas. Like, alright, that would be believable. A first-person shooter kind of set in a hell would be interesting anyways, because then you can explain the repeated characters and why it's just the same soldiers over and over again, and why there's so many of them, and why you're constantly taking hits. There's a lot of stuff here. I guess this is the admin area of the school. Anything's not breakable there. More doors being welded. It's nice for them to give you a visual depiction to say, no, this door's been welded shut. So this is weird because the elevator implies here that you come in through the elevator and this is the front room. Like, this is reception. So why didn't we see this when we came in through the front door? And here we see a camera. but we haven't been seeing a lot of them to make it feel creepy by any means. These might be stock images of very blurry, low resolution people. It seems to say sixth grade class of 2006, 2008, 2004, 2005, 2007, 2009. These might be people that actually worked on the game, or I wouldn't be surprised if it was like the game testers getting their image in the game. Right. That's a weird location for reception. And still got some offices. Let's see. Here we go. Here's the real information. Info Bluebirds Paragon Feeder Program. This is all, I guess, part of the Project Paragon. Subset Bluebirds. Bluebirds test group have been treated with placebo supplement in behavioral expectations, standard intelligent child development with some false positives for psychic potential. Phase 2 result as expected with variance within tolerance. Ladybugs, students with ladybugs test group have been treated with compound PN5A R13, a variant on the most recent and aggressive of the psychogenetic mutagens. Behavior expectations, higher cognitive response times, increased psychic awareness, improved psychic control. Phase 2 results spikes in psychic ability noted, but control is extremely fragile. So the reading groups are really just book just labeled cats. The reading groups are straight up covers for breaking up the kids into different experimental programs. Here we're hearing some creepy sounds. Feels like we should be close to the end of a level here. Let's see. We can go that way. We need a security card. And that's some heavy duty doors for a school. Kind of stands out. Let's see. Need to get out of here. That staggered him when I blew up the fire extinguisher, but it really didn't do any major damage to him from the feels of it. Here we've got blood all over the projector. Definitely trying for creepy imagery here. Yeah, it totally feels like all the concepts that I later saw in Condemned Criminal Origin were tested out here and not as polished. And maybe they held back all their best ideas for Condemned Criminal Origin, or maybe they just improved on their scary storytelling ability. Which, in all fairness, here we have another one of the ragdolls. It's not too bad. I thought this would have happened more often, but it doesn't actually happen that much. It's a little weird that he bled more when he hit the ground, but okay. And I still think you run into problems when you have to force in the first person shooting element into a horror game, and Condemned Criminal Origin fixed that quite a bit. There was a gun in Condemned Criminal Origin, but I don't think it was anyway a major focus. And it seems like we are once again now going up. That they're making the school feel a lot more vertical than it actually was, because it's really only 2 floors, and there's stairs height floors. Really, you don't need an elevator unless they're just straight up trying to hide loads, which suspect that might be the case. I guess we're not going to be able to break the windows and get in there. And see, now we have a whole nother like mirrored reception office. Tons of guns laying around, to the point where you have to kind of wonder if the guns weren't here first, and in some cases, well, seems like we are probably working our way towards some kind of boss fight, but even at that, I don't feel like you can jump. That's an interesting musical shift that it just went to with the piano music. Like, by not having the music constantly increase the tension, they managed in that instance to make it feel like some different things. Well, they managed to make it not ignorable more than anything, whereas a lot of the spooky music, it's just like, okay, we're going to increase the tension with the music as much as we can, and then we're going to do it some more. Here we have an armor cam box of something. And that is something you want to be careful with in any horror game, is that you have to have some falling action and falling tension. You have to let it get quiet sometimes, and stop the music from playing, just so I can recognize, oh, the music has jumped back in, and it becomes important then, instead of it just being background noise. And yeah, most of the music in this has been, I think, just background noise. Honestly, this feels like we may just be resetting to finish a level, and that's it. Principal's office. Yeah, and you would kind of feel like this would be the introduction of a boss. Dress code card. Pick up this. Strange nightmares. Alright. So unless this guy turns out to be something more, what do we want to hit him with? Hammerhead or assault rifle? Like, the hammerhead, I think, is for armored people. It's just like, is that realistic? No. He's just another one of these guys. Where? Let's try it. Let's just go ahead and rocket launch this guy. Where are you? I gave him way too much time to run away. Well, that nearly killed me. Alright. I guess we have to try Hammerhead then. He's running around in circles, and there's just throw a whole bunch of grenades at him. This guy's just running in circles. This is definitely an attempt at a different kind of boss fight. I think I may have killed him in that instance. Yep. Okay. So then it comes down to, is there any pickup stuff that I can really even pick up? Or maybe incendiary grenades would have been helpful. Was there an actual health kit somewhere? Yeah, incendiary grenades probably would have been very helpful. Fire bullets in general would have probably been a nice feature to have in a case like this. And they oddly are putting the principal's office, and I guess this is supposed to be another camera. In the first game there were turrets that came down. We haven't seen any turrets at all. I imagine they abandoned that as a concept because they didn't get used much and people didn't really like them. Let's see. You have to press and hold. And then fight Alma. The game is still saying Alma is trying to kill you in that instance, but she actually just saved your life. So take that for whatever you want. Because had you been in the elevator, you may not have actually survived that one-story fall. Unlikely, but possible. And I guess at this point the question just comes down to, so we hear on the radio, which if you're to believe the radio, that they're leaving, which just leaves you with freeing Snakefist and meeting Snakefist, and then it doesn't even feel like there really should be another level here where we try to escape while protecting Snakefist. And we've pretty much forgotten completely about the woman, the target of the mission. She's gone. It's really, really weird to have a principal, in my opinion, have an office at the top floor, because like the thing I would think about is if teachers want to send students to the principal, which, let's face it, that's kind of all a principal is he's not really even the boss of the teachers, particularly if there's unions involved, so much as he is just the bruiser disciplinarian. So if there's a kid being a problem, having to drag a kid into an elevator, kicking and screaming to a principal's office is a hassle. It's an elementary school, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens fairly frequently. Here we could possibly try and figure out which side Alma is on. Just accidentally used a thing. I think she was a frog, if I was to guess. And so she must have gotten the R8 formula. And here you have knee pad training on this tape, which sounds like a porn name. Let's see, what does this say? Tree frogs. Students in tree frog groups have been treated with compound PN5B, a variant on the most recent and most aggressive psychogenetic mutagens. Behavioral expectations, higher cognitive response times, increased psychic awareness, improved psychic control. Phase 2 results mixed control satisfactory, but overall abilities remain unremarkable. So I guess that would mean she was a ladybug. And here we have a one-way screen, but even that doesn't really make sense. So you'd have a door here with unauthorized personnel, a one-way mirror, and then you would have students in this classroom for observation, but none of the other classrooms are for observation. Yeah. So they've taken the idea that I was suggesting and done it in one area and one area only. Perhaps they felt like that would have just been too on the nose if you immediately realize that. And here we have armor cam computers and supercomputers back here, which does then imply that, once again, I can't read any of this because it's so dark and so far away. Snake Fist very possibly was working for armor cam, so there's very possibly not any good people here. These tapes are clipping through the table, or they are just being depicted as incredibly thin for some reason. I don't know of any tapes. I know Beta. Beta is typically thicker than VHS, so a thinner height VHS does not make sense. Still. I could have taken that guy out with the grenade instead of just flushed him out. Here we've got more manuals. So Project Paragon, I think, is the project that made Point Man. Here we're hearing things on a radio or TV somewhere. This is the nurse's office. See, a visit to the nurse's office. So we're going to get in the nurse's office and we're going to find out that it's a creepy laboratory and not just a nurse's office. Undoubtedly. It's kind of funny. Yeah, leave all metallic objects and remove your shoes. Like, why is there a doctor in the nurse's office? And here we have, like, a freezer. Apparently we're going to launch bluebird.exe. Why are we launching bluebird.exe? What was our objective here? This is going long. Find Snakefist. Is Snakefist just a computer program? Apparently. Either that or bluebird.exe is going to open a secret passage. Let's take a moment and think. Could there be a secret passage that opens? Well, I mean, any wall could potentially open up. The floor could easily be an elevator. I think the floor is an elevator. Although, it feels like this desk could easily fall over if the floor is an elevator. Alright. Nope, the entire floor is an elevator, not just the square on the inside that I was thinking of. So what do they do at that point? They knock you out and then they take you down to a more secret facility, which, I mean, it almost feels like you're going full circle here and you're just going to end up back at the hospital and back in the shell. Either that or they're taking you to an area not unlike where Alma was originally freed, maybe the exact area where Alma was freed. It very well could be the case that Alma was tested on at the school. Her psychic abilities couldn't be controlled. They sent her to the nurse's office. They put her asleep. They went down to the facility and then they locked her in that sensory deprivation tank for many, many years. Like, I don't really know if we want to revisit areas that were in the first game because the visuals there are going to have to be compared to the original game, and it's going to make the original game look a lot worse, where they've done a fairly good job so far of having us go to different areas so we can have that cognitive dissonance where the new areas look way better because the game is way newer. It's several years older, fresher than the original game, but we don't have to compare apples to apples here. Anyways, that was a very long level at an hour and 8 minutes. Sergeant Keegan was too impaired to continue, so Lieutenant Stokes escorted him back to the APC, sent you on ahead to locate Snakefist. You fought through the replica and Armorcam forces to reach the nurse's office, which turned out to be a disguised elevator. You're about to find out where it leads. It also feels like we could easily be 1, 2, or 3 levels away from finishing the game. Like, I feel like this probably is just going to boil down to fighting Alma. I don't see any other thing that happens unless you end up fighting Snakefist and Genevieve and then Alma, or Genevieve takes some kind of medicine to turn her into a monster and you fight her and Snakefist is on your side, or Snakefist gets turned into a monster too. There is a weird aspect here where it almost feels like Alma has to dance around being the actual enemy in the game just because you know there's a F.E.A.R 3 in the game, in the trilogy. But it doesn't have to inherently be that way because when a game like this came out, there would have been no guarantee for a third game. They were big into trilogies, and they still, even to this day, are big into making trilogies. Although, arguably, in the past 4 or 5 years, they've started to get away from that a little bit, at least not guaranteeing trilogies. So maybe they did make this game from the perspective that this might be the only story that happens. Although they did have DLC, so they knew at least the DLC was going to potentially come out and be approved. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.